Good morning and welcome to today's Solving Puzzles with Python. And without further ado, let's have a look at today's puzzle. So, translate the following word into Morse code, and the word there is teleprinter. For those of you who don't know, Morse code is a way of encrypting and transmitting text using two symbols. So it's a binary system. It uses dots and dashes, and through a combination of dots and dashes any letter and indeed number can be expressed and sent very simply down a wire or down the line to the receiver. One of the many interesting things about Morse code is that it can be transmitted in a number of ways: by sounds, by symbols, by electronic pulses, so on and so forth. Also, it's dynamic in that you see that some characters will only require one symbol, so the E only requires a dot and the T only requires a dash, and then others, like the Q, require four symbols. And if you think that there are spaces between them and that the dash is 3 times the length of the dot, then that's quite a few characters or quite a few symbols to transmit down the line, certainly compared to the E. The reason the Q has that many symbols and the E has that many symbols is quite simply because E is used more regularly in Western words than Q, and indeed Z is used very rarely in Western words, and so it has a large number of symbols used to represent it. So, without further ado, let us start solving this puzzle. We're going to use Python, obviously, and we're going to be using idle again, the compiler that's inbuilt with the download from python.org. So let's start a new file. There we go. Let's make sure it fits comfortably in the window this week. That's not too bad, I suppose. Let's start off with a bit of coding preamble. Title of the program, a print line to separate it all out, and then we're going to ask the user for an input. We're going to ask the user to type in the letter that we're going to convert to Morse code. Now this week I am going to use a dictionary again. And this turned out to be the biggest nuisance in writing this, in that you have to do every letter of the alphabet, and I've sort of cheated in that I didn't do the numbers as well. I've just done every alpha character in the alphabet and put it as a dictionary, called it Morse Dictionary. Begins and ends there. The last element of the dictionary doesn't have to have the comma, as it is ended by the bracket. And so that's a dictionary. You look up this value here and it returns this value here. So we look up n and it will return dash dot. They are stored here as a string, as is the lookup value. Lookup value is a string, hence the speech marks, and the value it returns again is a string in speech marks. We have asked the user for our input. We need to print out what the user has typed in, so let's put a simple print statement in here. So print, and we're printing the dictionary, and it's called Morse underscore dict, and what we want it to return is the value associated with user input, which is written like that, and we use square brackets because it is a dictionary, not, there we go, it's not a list, though we could convert it to a list if we wanted to. We're using square brackets, and then we end the statement, which is with a normal bracket. So print Morse user input, so it'll take the user input, look on this value and return this value. Let's run this and check that it works. Run the module. Yes, save it, and we're going to save it as Morse. We're going to save it as Morse. There we go. Let's run it, let's type in the letter A, and it returns that value there. We can F5 it to run it again. F5. We should be able to run it again. Let's run it again. Let's type in that long one. Let's type in a Q. That was a nice long one. Type in a Q, and it returns the characters for a Q. And so we have sort of answered our puzzle there. We could type in each letter individually, but that's not really very cool, is it? Let's go ahead and adapt this. So we type in the whole word. So the word, if you can remember, word was teleprinter, so we don't just type in the T, then the E, then we type in the whole word, type in the word teleprinter, and it will give us the encoded version in Morse code. So let's get back to our code. Let us close that for now. Let's close that there, close that now. So we just need to put this into a for loop. So user input, type in a letter, type in the word, type in the word, type in the word, and now we're going to put this into a for loop. So let's put for letter in, I've done user input that way, user input for, so that means, so that's just a variable name, for each letter in user input, for each letter in the user input, and it is a for loop structure, so we put a full colon at the end of it. This then needs to be indented, and there is a there we go, there is a menu item to do that, and that indents it. So, and we don't want to print the user input, of course, we want to input the individual letter. Okay, so we're going to get the user to type in a word. It'll loop round for each letter, each character in the user input, and it will print out that letter in Morse code. That should work nicely. So let's F5 and run that. Source must be saved. Okay, to save. It'll save automatically and it will run. So type in the word, and the word was teleprinter, teleprinter. Type in the word teleprinter, and there we are. We have each character, and we can cross-reference it to Wikipedia to check that it's right. And the first character is going to be a T, and there we are. T is a dash. Second character is an E, is a dot, and that is correct. T for E, teleprinter, then L, and there we are. We have it right. So that seems to have worked, but we can be a bit cooler than that again. We can, if you think about it, we're typing in a letter and getting the Morse code equivalent. Well, we can also reverse it. We can type in the Morse code and return the letter. But firstly, before we do that, let's make this a bit more user-friendly. A bit more usable anyway. The situation is that you run the program once and then it jumps out. And if you're going to do a project or an application, you don't want to have to start the program, rerun the program for each user input. What you want it to do is loop round and accept different words on each running of the program. So what we need to do is put this in some sort of structure that will just root round to the start again, and it will ask you for a new word. So we're going to do a bit of dirty programming, quick and dirty programming, and put all this into its own function, and then have a main program that calls it. You could do it as a while loop if you wanted to, but we haven't done anything or much on functions, and it's just as easy in this instance to do it as a function. So this is not too bad to do. So we're going to define this as a function. So we're going to def Morse, define it as a function. And Morse, it just happens to be a name. That could be anything. It could be zebra for all it matters. But it's good practice to give things sensible, human readable names, relevant names. So define it as Morse. It's a function. So we need to put brackets after it so the computer knows it's a function, and because it's a structure we need to put the full colon. Now the computer knows that everything that follows is part of the function because it's all going to be indented. And so we go back to this indenting process, and there we are. And we can indent the whole lot. There we are, that's nice and easy. So all this now is part of the function Morse. Now to make it loop around, we just have to call Morse at the end of the program. So putting a function call there is this sort of recursive operation that at the end of the function it calls itself, and so it runs again from the top, and that will happen. The added thing the extra thing you have to do when you do this structure is that you have to have, because all of this is nested in this doesn't know that it's got to run, so you need to call Morse in the first instance, and that's why it's right over on the hard left. There's no indenting at all. So in actual fact, this is, even though it is the last line of code, it is the first line of code that runs. So this runs, it calls Morse, Morse runs, at the end of Morse it calls itself, and it runs here again. So it loops around within the function forever and a day. So let's try this. Run module, save it, run it. Okay, type in the word, and the word is teleprinter, and after I typed in teleprinter it should loop round. There we are. Ooh, type in the word, inspect the Morse type. It hasn't worked. Why is that? If you look closely, it has typed the output for the T and gone on no further. So it's done the T, it's done a dash for the T, and then looped back to the start of the program again. And I strongly suspect that is because this is in the wrong position. This Morse, this function call here, is within this loop, so it prints out the letter and then it loops back. We want this outside the loop, so hopefully that will correct it. Run module, must be saved. Type in the letter, teleprinter, run it, and there, phew, that's a bit of luck. There we go, we have each letter. We can improve on this, of course, because we have to sort of read back, and it'd be nice if they did the letter and then the translation. So let's correct that. That's only a simple correction to the print statement. So let us go ahead and improve that print statement a little bit. Do you want to kill it? Yes, I do want to kill it. So where I've got this here, let's replace it with this code here. So I'm printing the letter as it appears in the letter we're dealing with, and then a joiner, and then the same codes I had before, the letter as it is returned, or the characters as they returned from the dictionary. So let's go ahead and run that. Run module, save it, run it, type in the word, let's type in the word teleprinter, and this time it should print out with, there we go, with a letter next to it, so you can see that the T is like that. And we can type in the word again. Let's type in the word screen, type in the word screen, and there we are, we have the word screen. If you watch old black and white wartime movies, you will know that SOS is very popular, so let's type in SOS, and SOS is ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... ... Great, excellent, that's really good. That's the basis for some project or some sort of application, perhaps a learning program. I did say it's going to be dead easy to reverse it, so let's go ahead and reverse the dictionary, rewrite the dictionary in reverse so that we can convert from dots and dashes from Morse code to the alphanumeric characters. Okay, so let's close that. Okay, close it. So this has to be reversed, and let's cut that, paste that. So I've called it the Morse dictionary reverse, and we start with the Morse code, and then we come, and then it returns the alpha character. We don't want to type in the word, we want to type in the Morse. Type in the Morse. Let's do that. Print. Okay. So here, not. Am I printing the letter? No, I'm not. I'm not going to do. No, because we're only going to type in one bit of Morse code at a time, aren't we? So we don't need it like that. We don't need a for loop. So this doesn't have to be indented, and I'm going to print the user input. So I'm going to print the user input. I'm going to print the user input, and what else am I going to do? Print user input, and I'm going to add this to the output string, and then add the Morse dict. And it's not a letter again; it is user input. User input. I don't know why I did user input in that format, but there we go. So type out user input in plain text, and with the joiner, after the joiner, type out the return from the user input, and then loop round or call yourself again. Type in the Morse, inspect the Morse. Right, let's try that. Let's see how that runs. Run the module. Must be saved. Yes, save. I can know a mistake before I've even done it. Okay, I'm not going to run that because I realize what's missing. This is now called Morse Dictionary Reverse. Morse dict underscore RVS for reverse. RVS. There we go. Now, let's see if this runs first time. Okay, type in the letter. Let's type in the letter Q. Oh no. Okay, so what have we got wrong? User input is not defined. That's probably just a simple user input. What have I done? User inp. Is it user input? User input instead of user input. Okay. User inp. There we go. And user inp. There. Okay. So let's F5 and run it again. Come on. There we go. Type in the Morse. So I've got to type in the Morse, of course, haven't I? So I've got to do let's do a dash. A dash is a T. There you go. Type in a dot. A dot is an E. Type in dot dot dot, and that's an S. SOS is dash 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 dash. Type in that. There we go. Type in a Q, and a Q. Q crashes out. I'm not sure why Q crashes out. Perhaps I haven't put a Q in there, have I? No, I missed Q out. An element. No, I haven't there. No, typed in the plain text, didn't I? Okay. There you are, you get the idea. So, despite my incompetency, you can see we've got a good basis here for a project or an application or a learning program maybe, if you want to learn Morse code. And thank you for watching this week's Solving Puzzles with Python. Tune in next week for next week's puzzle, or puzzle solving, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.